I'm content creator Cori Walmsley, the founder of Aurora Borealis Publishing. I'm dedicated to helping women entrepreneurs make a big impact by turning the next page with tools, tips, and resources that empower and connect the dots through books, publishing, and more. Every episode includes me, along with a featured guest on my globally recognized show, Page Turner Studio with Cori. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Page Turner Studio with Cori. I'm Cori Walmsley. I'm CEO of Aurora Borealis Publishing, as well as an author, speaker, and writing coach, and I'm your host. Today we have an amazing episode coming up, of course. Our guest today is Dr. Christina Fontana, and she is also known as the Pharmacist Coach. She's an intuitive, rapid transformation business coach, pharmacist, and 5-time author, which I know we love. She's the leader and founder of the Healers and Healthcare movement, which is geared toward empowering coaches and healers, which is a pretty unique niche to be in. And she helps you show up and shine in your brilliance so you can attract your soul clients, amplify your impact, and create a domino effect of healing in the world. And for the last 11 years, Dr. Christina has been providing uplifting transformational content through her YouTube videos, books, courses, programs, and so much more. So I'm really excited to have her on today. I'm going to bring her up from the green room.
Hello.
Welcome, Dr. Christina. It's wonderful to have you on.
Thank you so much. And you're just an amazing host right off the bat. You were just like right in there. And I really just appreciate your inviting me on the show. I think I'm one of the first guests that you have on this podcast, right?
Yeah, we just started. We only have a couple shows out. So this is pretty early in the process.
We're the foundational podcast here. I love it.
Yes. Yeah, and today we're going to be talking about how to use intuition and vulnerability to connect with readers with business coach Dr. Christina Fontana. So I wanted to start off talking a little bit about the fact that, Christina, your business has shifted a little bit over the years, and we've known each other for several years, worked on some of your books together. And I've really enjoyed watching some of these different things that you've stepped into. And I know you have something new coming up. So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost, I feel like, as my business has evolved, like you said, all the books are different, right? And you've helped me with 3 of them. So I'm sure there's going to be more down the pipeline. And it's so interesting how, whatever is happening with my life or my business, I'm like, let's throw it in a book. I want to teach. And I think that that's a big opportunity for entrepreneurs to share what you know, and that helps that person to connect with you. And that might be the first thing that they read. And they're like, oh my gosh, I need to work with this person, or I want to find out more information about this person. So it's almost like I always loved writing, even from a very early age, because it was a way for me to express my emotions. And I know we're going to be talking about that today, but it's also a way for the reader to really get to know me, aside from, like social media or all those different things. I really share a lot of those intimate details of some of the things that I go through. And I think that, that's a strength. And I know we're going to talk about intuition and vulnerability and all of that. So over the years, I've gone from being a pharmacist to a health coach to healer, rapid transformation work, energy work, and now stepping into more of that business role of helping entrepreneurs essentially look at both the energetic and the strategic parts of how to scale a profitable business. Because we know that even with writing a book, there can be so many things that come up that your body's trying to protect you from getting to that next level in your business, whatever that might be. And so if we're just looking at strategy and we're saying, hey, go do this thing, whatever that might be, like, an audience building activity, but your body is scared to be seen and it doesn't feel safe to take that next step in your business, you're going to procrastinate, you're going to futz around and do all these other things. And I know I'm not, shaming anybody. I am the first one to say I've had so many blocks and had to work through. I continually work on some of the things that I'm going to be sharing about. So everything from people pleasing, perfectionism, all of these old aspects of myself that kept me safe for a long time, but it wasn't really allowing me to shine in my true essence. And that's what I love doing, is really diving in with people and extracting that gold, because no matter what you've been through, whether it's a divorce or a health challenge or something that has really shaken you to the core, you can extract that and use that as gold for people who are maybe 5 steps behind you, or somebody that's like, hey, I am lost right now, what do I do? And a book is a beautiful vehicle for that, to be able to educate, to empower, and to lead that person to the next step, which could be to work with you. So
Yeah. Wow, that's a lot of really good stuff. So I love that you not only talk about the practical side, because something, before I was a business owner, I had no idea that there were actual things in my body, things that had gone on in my head, things I had experienced that were keeping me from doing things that I wanted to do. It was just like, I didn't comprehend that you couldn't just go, oh, I'm going to do this and now I'm going to do it. And that, it took going through and like working with people like you. Christina and I did work together. I took one of her programs a few years ago.
yeah.
And it was things like that that really opened my eyes and let me see that, yes, there are things that hold me back, and this is how it works, and this is how we need to work on them so we can move forward. And I love that that you do this in a lot of your books too. So I want to showcase some of these gorgeous stuff. Yeah, these are the last two. I actually have them on hand too. And these are not little books.
Yeah.
They are very big books. You can see thick books, nice workbook size books. Tell me a little bit about, let's start with embracing your light as a highly sensitive person.
Yeah, so that one really was kind of bringing together the science and the spirituality, which is really the essence of what I do, is that practical piece of this is what's happening energetically, and it's proven by quantum physics. And my dad always said to me, my dad was a business owner too. For 32 years, he owned a pharmacy, and he always just said to me, I'll never forget, he's like, people want specific, just simple things, like break down these concepts into digestible pieces that people can understand. So I'm always using metaphors or things that are tangible, that people can really say, oh, okay, quantum physics, that sounds a little crazy, but I want to talk about quantum physics in this way and give a specific example about what that looks like practically. So that's what I try to do with all of my books, is I'm like, okay, here's all of this this science that people say, oh, like woo woo, all of this energy work. There's actual science behind it, and I love bridging that with the spiritual component, because it's all one and the same. Because energy is light, and it is both spiritual and science based. So that's really where I brought this book together, to give some of that scientific practical background, and also teach people and empower people that, if you're highly sensitive and you are experiencing these symptoms, or you're, having higher levels of burnout, this might be why it's happening. And here are some tools that you can use in your everyday life that are simple. Things that you can do, whether it's like clearing your energy, taking an Epsom salt bath. I mean, it's a lot deeper than that, but just those simple things that people can do. Because I know for me, a big impetus of why I write my books is because I don't want people to feel the pain that I had to go through. So I am very open with my story of just all the trauma that I've been through. And if I can help someone collapse time so that it's not taking them 11 years to do, and it's like maybe a quicker transformation, then I want to help someone really alleviate that pain, or have less pain, or accelerate the path, whatever that might be. So that's really the drive behind, or a big drive behind, why I write books like this.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that it's the job of the people like us who are aware, who have that level of awareness, to write books so people can say, oh, I didn't even recognize that was what was going on. So I think it's wonderful that you're doing this. Oops, did I have the wrong book up for a second?
No, you did. It was good. Yep.
There we go. We'll get the right stuff up. So let's talk about the next book then. We shifted into moving beyond the counter.
Yeah, moving behind the counter. Yeah.
Moving around.
No, that's funny. Yeah, so this one actually, like, I know we're going to talk about intuition. All of my books, I just get downloaded and the information comes through. And I know we'll go into that a little bit, but I get these ideas kind of, it seems like it's out of nowhere, but I think it's because I'm so in tune with myself and my own energy, and I'm very spiritual. So I think that it just kind of downloads through me all of these just business ideas, or I'll get like a nudge that says, oh, create a partnership with that person, do that. And I always say God is my CEO because I couldn't come up with half the stuff that I do in my business. So this one came through back in May of last year, and I just saw a group of women, and I knew that it was going to be a book about entrepreneurs, and I kind of just went through, and started like piecing together, okay, like what would I want to teach somebody who's looking to, a healer, a coach, an entrepreneur, or an aspiring entrepreneur that's looking to grow their own business. So what would I have to teach them? So the first part of this book it was 5 steps to essentially scale a profitable business. And then there was also a really nice QR code that people can scan, and it's a whole other, not like mini course, but there's a lot of valuable information in there for anybody who's an aspiring entrepreneur. And then the other half of the book is all different stories of pharmacists who have, I call it monetize your magic or turn your gifts to gold. They've turned their talents, their passions into profitable businesses. So I wanted to show, because I know a lot of people want to see proof. They want to see, okay, like that one person built a successful business, but like 19, okay, I can do it too. So it's that social proof of, I want people to see what's possible. And so through these stories, and Cori, you helped with my last 3 books, you've got to see firsthand of all of these amazing stories of these women who have gone through different levels of, whether it's trauma or challenges in their business, whatever that was, and they vulnerably wrote in this book to show, hey, this is my arc of transformation of where I was and where I am now. And of course we're always evolving, but I wanted to give people a tangible, pretty much social proof that you can grow a business and you can turn your gifts to gold.
Yeah. Yeah. This was a really fun one to work on too, because there were so many stories that came together, and, I love the social proof idea. So I thought that was absolutely brilliant that you did it that way.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it wasn't my idea.
Awesome. Well, both books are absolutely gorgeous, and I think that they really showcase the work that you do, and like I said, that level of awareness that you have, that this is what was going on, and that you're able to help other people have that awareness in their own lives too. So
Yeah.
wonderful. And I wanted to share. This is Christina's impactful page turner share. She said, I've learned to follow my intuition and take action on those inner nudges, even if it doesn't make logical sense. It stretches my comfort zone, or it's scary. And we talked a little bit about this before, and what Christina shared with me was that she's always been supported when, when trusting and taking action on those impulses. So relating to your books, can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so when I get those intuitive nudges, and it wasn't always this way. I want to just kind of start by clarifying. I wasn't always super intuitive, because
Right.
when I had a lot of trauma and a lot of, I call it, I guess, like emotional density or blocks, and a lot of those things that were getting in the way, fear predominated my lens and how I saw life. And that's, I think, because of the trauma that I've experienced, and how, the collective, and how we're raised. And it's very much in this 3D model of our physical world. And so a lot of us are looking at our world right now and saying, well, like, I'm afraid because we're waiting for the money, the clients to show up before we feel worthy. And what I now know, and this is what I've learned as I've gone through the past 11 years, is when you feel worthy within yourself, and you actually shut down the outside world and you tune into yourself, what is true, what is my guidance, that's when you're going to be led to, the opportunities. And I always say wealth is more than just money. It's clients, it's opportunities, it's you providing this space for me to share about my experience. Like I have a gratitude journal. I just wrote your name down in my gratitude journal. It's like, Cori, you just sent me an opportunity today. That is abundance. So when we tap into that frequency of, I create wealth within myself, and I actually have just not randomly, I have this card that I actually just sent out to a bunch of clients, and I said, your wealth and your treasures are within you. You have innate, valuable, God-given gifts. So your gifts are within you, and when you realize that, and you realize you are already wealthy, you have a wealth of knowledge, you have a wealth of gifts to share, that's when you become unstoppable. And you don't look to the outside world to say, oh, well, there's a lack of clients right now, so that must mean that I'm unworthy. No. Okay, how do we shift that within you? Who would you have to become to start attracting more clients and that embodiment and those beliefs? So that's kind of what I've seen and what I've learned about energy and how everything works. Because, if I'm sitting here in fear and I'm like, you know what, I can't move forward, look at my hands. Like I need to grip onto money. I need to grip, it's not safe. There's no opportunity for me to receive. When I'm relaxed and open and I'm like, you know what, I circulate my wealth, and I know that there's always another opportunity around the corner. Like feel that frequency shift. So that's how I run my business. And I know that that's from a higher perspective. It allows so much more freedom and spaciousness and expansiveness to be able to then not be in fear and contracted, but to instead tap into my intuition so that I can channel these new ideas to help my business. So I know that was like a long, convoluted answer, but
no, that was really good. Yeah, and I think it's important to, one of the things that you said was being able to clear out all of the, the junk, the trauma and everything, so you can actually trust your intuition. And I think that's something that, it takes entrepreneurs a little bit of time to get to that point.
What I wanted to share this. So I told you about my dad always bringing it down to like a metaphor. So what just came through was when you have that trauma, and I'm not making anyone bad or wrong, but when you're in that trauma, it's almost like you're underwater and you're trying to like talk to that. Have you ever done that where you're like underwater? You're like, hey, I want to try to talk to you, blah, blah, blah. And like the person can't hear you. You can't hear clearly or see clearly because it's like there's too much. There's a lot in the way. But when you come above water, it's like, oh, now I can hear you clearly. So that's kind of what just came through. I've never had that download before, but that's almost what I feel like, your intuition becomes a lot more clear when you've cleared out a lot of this density because you're not underwater, like, trying to talk to that person and you can't hear anything. So
yeah, no, that was a good one. I like that analogy.
Yeah.
And I was showing some pictures from an event that Christina did recently. There are a lot of really fun pictures from this event. This is from the Healers in Healthcare Conference, and I know that this is something that you intuitively felt like you wanted to pull together for a while now, right?
Yeah. So this was another download, and I had a lot of fear, Cori, and I put it out there. I put down like, behind the scenes, this is everything that it took to put this conference on. But I know in my heart, like, again, it's that wealth circulation. Like I really went all out and was able to impact so many lives and hopefully, continue to keep having that ripple effect from this event. And so whenever I get afraid, and that's back to the quote of what I wrote before, whenever I get afraid, I feel it and I acknowledge it and I say, okay, this is protection, right? My body wants to come up and protect me.
Yeah.
But what is it costing me to not do that? So I wouldn't have been able to impact those lives. I had, clients from that, opportunities, growing relationships, planting seeds with people to, who knows where that's going to go. So it's not only like, what's the here and now, what am I getting now? But it's not about that. I trust that when I circulate my wealth, whether it's money, time, love, energy, whatever that is, that it is going to come back to me and I don't need to know how. And that's where I think a lot of us get kind of tripped up with like, well, if I give, then like, am I going to get taken advantage of? Or if I give, I'm not going to have enough. But that's not how energy works. So it's kind of back to that fourth book about like quantum physics. You know, this is how, like, we live in an energetic universe where there are unlimited potentials and possibilities. And when we're tapping into that, that's when we're truly unstoppable and limitless. And so that's the frequency that I really want to empower people to live from. Because again, if we're sitting here like this and like, oh, I don't know, I'm watching the news and like the economy, nope, that's not even my reality. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I'm not plugging into that. This is my reality. We get to choose what we decide and what we believe. And I have to rewire every day. I listen to things all the time. I'm constantly working on this mindset because it's like you're being pulled, you know, by all these, you know, the news or whatever. And it's like, okay, plug back into what's true. Again, shut down the outside world. Where is my power? It's here. It's not out there. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, I love that. That was so good. And I do the same exact thing. I have to stop myself and say, okay, is this something that's important for me to know? Is this something that's impacting me? Can I impact it by worrying about it? All right, bring it back in. Here we are, centered up. So,
Exactly, exactly. It's because we're always energetically plugging into things, whether it's social media or people or the news or whatever. So
mhm.
keep your energy clear, you know, and that's going to help you really plug into your power and tap into those possibilities and listen to your intuition very clearly to have that guidance for what your next steps are in your business.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you for sharing all that.
Yeah.
Um, so I wanted to talk about your being a page turner tip. And Christina is sharing, courageously sharing my story vulnerably has helped me connect with people and give them hope to know that they aren't alone. To me, that's the most powerful gift I can give anyone.
Yeah.
So I think that um, I think that there's sometimes a little confusion with vulnerability. So I did want to mention that vulnerability is not, I'm going to share every single thing that happens to me all the time and let everybody know what's going on and tell them all the dirt that's going on in my life. I think that there's a little bit of, selectivity with vulnerability.
Right. Well, yeah, and it's going to be different for each person. So I always say to my clients, you know, it's a titration. So start sharing something with an intimate group of people that you feel safe with. And then from there, you can kind of titrate to what feels comfortable. I think the biggest thing that one of the biggest fears human beings have is to look bad. So if a lot of that comes up whenever, like, I don't have that fear. I'll call myself out. And but that holds a lot of people back because they're like, well, I don't want to look bad, or, and these are all valid. Like, again, it's your body trying to protect you. I don't
Right.
want to look bad. I don't want to get criticized. What if someone says this? What if I get in trouble? Like, all of these fears, there are negative consequences that come from telling your story, from shining. And I know we're going to actually be doing a lot of this work at our retreat that we're doing that I know we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
But this is why you need to look at both that energetic part of, you know, creating safety in your body and looking at some of these blocks that are coming up and moving and moving into action, even if you're scared. And maybe again, if it's a small, like, one foot in front of the other, that's okay too. So I think that with me, i I don't have a fear of, like, somebody calling me out or being like, hey, you know, I heard you have an eating disorder, like, had an eating disorder. Okay. Because I've healed it and I've gone through, you know, healing a lot of that trauma. And it took me a while to get to this place of being so rooted in myself that I'm like, throw a stone at me, say, like, I had somebody actually, if anybody's afraid of criticism, this story will actually help you. I had two people recently. One person messaged me on LinkedIn and said, you're too thin. And then another person said, you're stupid. This man that I was like, oh my God, okay. So I've
Huh.
had, and I'm just like, okay, is this real? Is this true? And again, plugging back into your power, is this true, or is it about that person and what are they projecting? So it might happen as you grow, as you scale. You might have people that say things, whether it's to your face, behind your back, but, you know, also think about what I said before. If you're not telling your story, think about all the lives you're not impacting. So it's always costing us something: self-expression, money in our business, clients, connection, all of those things. So that's what I always think about. Like, okay, I'm feeling this fear right now. I'm going to acknowledge this fear and use my transformation tools to move through it. But I'm also going to boldly take action, because it's going to cost me something to stay here. And I don't like staying complacent. So that to me is like my worst fear. Like leaving and being someone, being at my grave site and like, oh, like she was just complacent her whole life. Like that is my biggest fear. I want to just make an impact and impact as many people as I can. So that's why I do what I do, because I know that's my purpose.
Yeah, I love that. And I think a lot of people have that same issue where they have that fear and they're caught up in what are people going to think of me? And it really needs to be, okay, I have this fear, but there's this group of people here that really needs to hear from me. So
Right.
I love that sort of shift. Sometimes you do have to shift outside of yourself to be able to impact others.
Well, and I also want to just say too, when you've had so much trauma, and it's like, what else do I have to be afraid of? I've been homeless. I've been called every name in the book, like the C word, just everything. And so
Yeah.
I'm at the point now where I just like, yeah, maybe it'll impact me, and I'm going to allow myself to feel that. If it's a comment that's going to impact me, like if someone said to me, oh, like, you're not caring, like that would really impact me, because I'm like, wait, what? That's something that I think that I am very caring and loving. So that would impact me, but I have nothing to fear, because I've already been through homelessness, domestic abuse, someone slashing my tires. Like I've been through it. So anything that someone's going to come at me with, I'm like, no, I can get through it. It's okay. So
Yeah, exactly. And this actually goes right into what I was going to say. This is the turn page with Cori share. If you're struggling with vulnerability, remember that it's not about you. You're supporting others with your share. And all the stuff that Christina was just saying fits perfectly with that. Making sure that, yeah, you've been through some crap in your life, but sometimes you have to kind of stop and say, all right, this is what we need to be doing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I did want to mention, so Christina mentioned about something that we're going to be working on together that's coming up this fall. Do you want to talk a little bit about this?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you can tell, I love glitter, or like shiny things, and so does Cori. So we're having an event called Show Up and Shine, and it's going to be a collaboration with Cori and myself, and it's going to be a deep dive 4-hour session for entrepreneur. Well, yeah, I guess entrepreneurs, but authors, whether you're an aspiring author or if you've written books before, because what I found, and we talked about this in this episode, is that you can have a desire to write a book, or maybe to write the second book. But number one, I want you to think about, are you being strategic in really dialing up your brilliance? And what is your brilliance, the gifts that you bring, that you can connect the dots for your reader to have a powerful story, so that there's a call to action. Maybe it's like, hey, and if you want more help, like share what you know and make an offer. If you want more help, here's how I can help you. So your book, and I know, Cori, you've talked about this before, your book is a position, it automatically allows you, to position yourself as an expert, but it's also kind of that lead magnet for you to say, hey, I'm an expert. This is what I do. People get to know you through your story. And when you're really specific about what it is that makes you different, and that person's going to resonate and read your story, that's going to be how you start to attract those soul clients who need what you have. So it's dialing up that energy, because think about the energy of these two statements, like, oh, like, can you read my book? Like, do you want to read my book? Or like, hey, I have this book that is life changing, right? Like, it's a different frequency. So when you dial up the energy in even the words that you use and how you come across, and like really that confidence that can shine through, as well as, we're going to be talking about some strategic things that you can do to increase the value and create more value for your reader, so that they're like, oh my gosh, look at Like if this is a $20 book and this is like all the value that I got, I can only imagine what I'm going to get as a paid client. Like that's the level of power we're working with here. So that's a little taste and appetizer of what we're going to be talking about in this 4-hour event. And I'm just so excited because I want to brag on you. You know, I love you to death, Cori. Like Cori is just so good at helping you to be organized. She's on time with deadlines. I mean, she pours her heart into what she does. So as an editor, you know, she's really going to help as well with the strategic part of like, hey, have you thought of this? And even as she goes through your manuscript, she'll help you with that. And then from my perspective, I want to help you with really dialing up that energy. I'm able to really pull out your gifts and help you release blocks that are getting in the way, whether it's self-doubt or perfectionism, because we often have that idea of writing a book and then it's like, okay, the implementation, how long does it take you to get there? We're going to be collapsing time so that instead of taking you like years to get to that implementation, you're going to want to get into action right away to write that next book, to write your first book, and to have tangible takeaways that you can go and get into action right away. So that's what I feel we're going to be doing.
Yeah, I think you covered pretty much everything with what we were planning for that day. We don't have the whole thing fleshed out completely, and there's not a sales page yet. So if you're listening to this and you're interested, please reach out to either Dr. Christina or me, and we'll make sure you're on the list to find out once we have everything pulled together, because this is going to be a really impactful day. And I think it's going to be pretty exciting because a lot of times writers think, oh, okay, I'm going to write a book. And we forget about all of the other things surrounding it, you know, the things that are going on in our head, the things that are going on in our world, and what we can be doing to, as Christina was saying, you know, up level and bring more to the table when you have a book.
Right. And I want to just bring up one more point. You know, I can't see, like I can see because I'm looking in the camera, I can't see this behind me, right? This is a blind spot. Or like when you're driving, you're like, oh, wait, I have to turn my head. Oh, there's that car next to me. That's why coaching is so powerful, because you don't know what you don't know. So, you know, when you have somebody working with you and hearing the frequency of what you're saying, I can really dial in and say, hey, let's shift this together. And it happens very quickly. That's why I'm a rapid transformation coach, because I'm able to really dial in and hear the frequency of what's getting in your way that you might not even see. And that's the power of this work. And doing it in person is even more powerful. So yeah, anybody who's interested, feel free to, you know, DM myself or Cori. I'm definitely happy to share more information.
Yeah, and I love how you explained the coaching thing, because I think that's so important to have somebody there who can spot your blind spots.
And lovingly show them to you, right? Because, I get it.
Yeah. So I did want to talk about the make an impact tip with Cori. So my share is sometimes trusting your gut means saying no to writing today so you can say yes to writing tomorrow. And this is about the fact that, you know, sometimes we have a lot of stuff going on in our worlds. Like I was sharing with Christina before this, that, you know, I felt like crap a couple of days this week. I had a headache this morning. Like there are other things that have been going on in my world that if I had been planning writing sessions during those times, I would have had to say no. Because I know that if I was not trusting my gut and not taking that time to heal, that I would have pushed through and probably written crappy work. And then I would be going back and redoing it anyway. So it's kind of pointless to be doing that. How do you feel about this, Christina?
Well, you know, it's all about intuition. So I completely agree. I think it's really trusting your body and not, I love what you said about not pushing, because I think as high achievers, which I'm sure that's a lot of who you work with, people who want to write books are probably high achievers. It's easy for us to get into that phase. And I know this is how I was brought up, of like, well, just do it. I don't care that you don't like it, just do it, you know, and you get conditioned over time to just override your body's like knocking on the door trying to say, hey, I think it's time for a nap. And you're trying to push through. That's how we drive deeper into burnout. So I love what you shared there.
Yeah, thank you. And I think that's something we don't think often enough about, is that we do need that break so we don't continue down the hill and end up at the bottom. So along those same lines, I did want to ask you one more question. How can someone tell the difference between fear and an intuitive nudge not to do something?
So fear is going to feel like, oh, I'm a little bit like afraid, but I'm also excited about this. When something is a no, I had this recently, and I actually have I would love to give to your audience as well. I have a whole Ascension collection that I would love to give away for free. Um, when it's a no, it's going to feel heavy and contracted. When it's a yes, it's going to feel expansive to you. So it's okay to have some fear. Like I'm stepping into something new that I'm doing in my business. It's not a no. I know the difference in my body. So for everybody, it's going to be different. So I have all the clairs, clairvoyant, clairsentient, and maybe for you, you're still learning how to trust yourself and trust your body. But that's why, like I said, I have that. It actually teaches you. I take you through this meditation in my Ascension collection that shows you how to tune into your body to see, like, is this a yes? Is this a no? And then when things come up in your business and you need to make decisions, it's like, well, does this feel aligned to me? And your body's going to tell you. So I think that's really important to be able to trust yourself in
Yeah.
your business, because you're making decisions every day. So, out of people pleasing, or like, oh, well, I feel like I have to do this, or is it, again, anchoring back into your body? Okay, even though I feel like I probably should do this, because like FOMO or whatever, I would just be, I would be aware and curious of some of those kind of like obligation or fear-based thoughts versus like a genuine desire. I think there's a big difference there.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I have all the clairs too. And I think for me, it took a very long time to get to the point where I understood, like, this is me just being in fear, and this is me getting a good, solid no. Like, I walked into a store at the mall the other day and I was thinking, oh, I'll just check on this thing, just kind of, start poking around, figuring this out. And when I walked in and I was about to say something, I felt this no. It was almost like a gust of wind inside my body, like, no. And I'm like, all right, we're just asking about pricing and then we're walking back out.
Right, right.
For me, it was like, that was a very clear, like, I know that that's, my intuition, universe, whatever it is you want to call it. That is a big solid no for me. And I ended up checking on something else later that I was like, I felt intuitively like that was a better option. Sure enough, it was. So I'm glad that I listened to that no, and I didn't go, oh, this is just silly, oh, I'm going to do it anyway. I don't want to have to wait. I'm going to, go right here and do it. So I think I'm glad we got to talk about that, because that's a very important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. I think that it kind of goes back to what you said too about trusting your body and not pushing through.
Mhm.
And sometimes it requires patience. Like, okay, well, I'm going to wait for something. Like you said, you kind of debated between the two, and that choice would have been faster, or like it
Mhm.
would have been faster for you to just write those pages, right? But is it efficient? Is it aligned? All of these things are questions that you can ask internally to yourself. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I think questions are important in all cases.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Absolutely. To get more clarity.
Yeah. Well, we had such a great conversation today. I hate to wrap it up, but we're going to have to. And you mentioned about the Ascension collection. We can drop a link to that in with all of the show notes. That way everybody can get a hold of that. That is a wonderful gift. I know I've worked with Christina for years, and everything she has is absolute gold. So
Oh,
thank
thank you.
you for sharing that.
I love gold.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for being on today and for sharing all your wisdom with us. And I am going to drop Christina back to the green room and we'll wrap it up.
Thank you, Cori.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that was another wonderful show with Paige Turner's studio. So I hope that everybody has a wonderful rest of the week and keep having Paige Turner moments. If you want to catch the rest of our episodes, the link is below. It's at bit.ly/Paige Turner's studio with Cori. So make sure you hop over there and check us out. Thanks for joining us. Thank you for joining me today. You can learn more about me, my products, and services at auroracorealispublishing.com. Make sure to join me for another episode every Wednesday at 7 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Central on my globally recognized show, Page Turner Studio with Cori.